Hi there, my name's Alan Stockdale, and I'm from Escape the Prison Matrix. On the line at the moment, I've got Michelle Walling. We tried to do a recording just over a week ago, but the powers that be, or my computer, whatever, just decided not to record Michelle's voice. And it was a really good show as well, so me and her was really gutted that it didn't record, but these things happen for a reason, or maybe they don't, whatever, but she's back on the line with me now anyway. We're not necessarily going to talk about exactly the same sort of stuff as before. We're just going to have a bit of more of a free run at a few subjects, what we're both interested in, and trying just to put our view across on that. So, are you there, Michelle?
Hi, Alan. It's nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a great change to be able to just talk freely and not have to worry about, running the controls on my own switchboard and everything. It's awesome. So
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Just relax and just have a chat between me and you. That's the way I like to do my. I don't even call them interviews. Just like to have a fireside chat in the middle of summer.
Yes, and just forget about the multi-billions of beings out in the cosmos that are also listening. It's no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. No. Hi, guys. Yeah. Oh dear. Right. So, what shall we just start off? Something what's just I've come across quite a lot recently, and I know we touched on it in the other show, but didn't record. About the Wave X, what a lot of people are talking about, and I just wanted to sort of put my point of view of it and ask you what you thought yourself about what this Wave X is. I'm not necessarily a great fan of the actual name Wave X, because I think I don't envision some sort of wave coming through the cosmos. I just envision the vibration of us, ourselves, the cosmos, everything that's connected together, just raising up and helping us to basically get away from this inorganic matrix what we're in. And I know there's a few people on the net are slating the people that have come out with this Wave X and what it's all about. So I just wanted to sort of ask you, what do you really think it is, and where do you get the information from that has told you that, Michelle?
Well, Wave X was named by Dr. Simon Atkins, who I had on my Cosmic Awakening show, which is an N5D radio show. And you can find that show on N5D's YouTube channel, and it has almost 59,000 listens to as of yesterday, and 7,200 listens on Blog Talk. So that's about, my math is horrible, but that's about 66,000 listens so far. How about that number?
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and basically, what Simon was really trying to share with people is, he's a scientist, he's a forecaster, he's a studier of electromagnetic energy and how the pulses, when they do, I guess, you can call it hit the planet, move through the planet, affect the planet, however it happens with the planet. When the vibration hits the planet, he's studied for people for a living for the past 20 years the effect that it has on people in their consciousness and and the way that they act and the way that they awaken. And I've one of my biggest questions in my awakening is, as I look back, it's like, what caused me to wake up as quickly and abruptly as I did and see that my whole life was backwards and upside down? And I made that 180-degree change and moved more towards the path of higher consciousness. What caused that? And self was working on the. I also had to be raise my vibration above the electromagnetic frequency of the planet and the extremely low frequencies that are bombarded, to us through radio and HARP and television waves and microwaves from the satellites, around the cities that they're, everything is connected within a 200-mile radius. They now have towers all over the U.S. where they can blanket everything in the United States with an extremely low frequency.
Same in the UK as well, yeah.
For me for me to rise above that, what caused that? And I've always just felt that the correct answer for me was that we are moving through an area of the cosmos that is of a higher vibration. And I know Barbara Marciniak and some other people like Lisa Royale Holt talked about the photon belt, and which was a higher frequency place in the cosmos. Now, I haven't been out astral traveling to see all this. I don't know if it's all true, but this is my way of explaining to myself and coping with what's happening, and it seems to be that I feel like that wherever I have concluded to what's happening, it seems to be on the right track based on how my life is unfolding and how the synchronicities and the confirmations, occur. Who knows what's really happening? I mean, maybe our minds can't comprehend that. But that's where I am with understanding that our planet has been blanketed with a low consciousness, with frequency waves to keep us under control. And that is part of the matrix, in my opinion. So breaking free of the matrix would be to break out of that low consciousness, increase your consciousness. And I believe that as far as scientifically and metaphysically, that involves a raise in vibration. And I believe that humanity will do that in tandem with the planet. And in my mind, you give me your opinion of this, but in my mind, the only way we're going to break free from this prison planet and the controllers on here is for the Earth to raise her frequency to a frequency that they cannot exist. I don't see any other way. And not only that, but perhaps they were drawn here by the consciousness of the planet to end this once and for all, for them taking control of planets and wiping out the populations and terraforming them, so they can now have the planet to mine for gold, and have their own little small population of slaves to give them an energy source. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good explanation of it. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I feel that it's where this people call this wave X. I sort of see it as a combination of a few things. I think it's the Earth, Mother Earth, the spirit of Earth. Higher in a vibration, because now she's decided that she's had enough of this. We've gone through this cycle enough times now. I think us as souls have been through enough harshness, far more than what maybe we ever intended to. If we did it all, I don't really know on that point, but it's a possibility. And I think these archons, dracos, artificial intelligence, whatever you want to put a label on it, I think they've obviously got obsessed with it. They've lost their connection to source, and they're so obsessed with keeping it to keep their self in existence, really. And I think the Mother Earth has just said, right, I've had enough of this. In conjunction, I think, with source energy, whatever you want to put a label on that. I don't like to use the word God, but if that's what suits you, then fair enough. But I just think source we're all part of source, and I think we've got higher souls, our higher soul and our spirit out of the matrix, and I think they're all coming together as well. So I think every person on the planet what's woke up already, I think their souls are transmitting that wave to them as well. So you could say it's like a wave coming from yourself, basically, to help you wake up in conjunction with Earth and source all together. And I just think, basically, the writing's on the wall for the elite, the archons, the artificial intelligence, whatever it all is, all together. I think the days are numbered, and I just think it's an opportunity for people that are waking up just to really open your mind and just go on the internet and do some research on this stuff. Don't judge it on what other people might label it or whatever they say to it. Just approach it with an open heart, an open mind. And if it resonates with you, then it's the right information for you at that time in your awakening. So that's what I'd say. That's my opinion on the whole thing.
Well, that's why I love talking with you, Alan, because I think we're pretty connected, and I like to honor what everybody thinks, and that's everybody sees things differently from their own point of view. We all have our own personality that's part of the ego, and if we wiped our ego out, we wouldn't have any personality whatsoever. But if we can balance that personality with the heart, and we can use our left brain in conjunction with the right brain, we can, we can consciously speak about these things with the limited English language that we have, but through the heart, and just speak our truth. And when we do that, we raise our vibration. So whatever your truth is, you can speak it. But some people are jealous of that, and they don't want you to speak your truth. It doesn't matter what I say here. I mean, I could just say the sky's purple, and as long as I speak it from my heart, you would feel that truth vibration from me. And really, this is all really, if we just become ourselves, our true selves, and if we're not truly out there trying to deceive people or lead them down the wrong path, then people will understand and feel that your true source existence that you're allowing to come through, and I think that you're there. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Wave X and just explain what it is and what it isn't. So I said, it's that I feel like waves of ascension have bathed the planet. However they got here, whether we went to them, whether we're creating them, those of us who had a trigger to awaken, however it's happening. In my mind, there's no doubt that we've had waves of consciousness sweep the planet, and I think Wave X is just another wave of help to break up. And I just listened to my friend Simon Parks, whom I've had on the Cosmic Awakening show, and he did an August 2nd interview, and he mentioned it as well. And I like the way that he described it, that there have been, if you have any psychic abilities to monitor the consciousness on the planet and how we've been able to move forward, we've relatively been in like a couple of year stagnation as far as consciousness moving forward. And he didn't say this, but the first thing that came to my mind was that we've been like in a time loop. And there's a lot of timeline manipulation that's been going on, and that this wave of consciousness will help to break up that stagnation and allow those of us who are conscious and aware and wanting to move forward. Now, what does move forward mean? Well, I think it's an individual thing, whatever you want to make of it. If you'd like to have more psychic abilities, if you'd like to, raise your vibration more and increase more of your, bring in more of your soul's energy into your body and become whole. If you want to heal, there's all kinds of things you can do, because everything's energy. So you bring more energy in and you have more ability, right? So I think it's just it's not a mass ascension unless unless a mass of people decide that they have enough energy force to do whatever ascension is, which in my opinion is raise your consciousness, but it's not being promoted as a mass ascension.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have taken Wave X and run a little wild with it. It's not anything negative. I mean, why would we be promoting anything negative? We're promoting hope. We're promoting an opportunity to use the energies and to know that they're coming, because not everybody's psychic enough to feel it, and not everybody's a scientist that has predictive modeling software to be able to pinpoint when or that we're on a mass wave. Basically, you can look at the data and tell if things have been building and building and building, that something bigger is coming, just like a wave in the ocean. So
yeah. I think
that's what I think it is.
I think it's more of a kickstart. I think. Let's say that I know a lot of these people say it's September when this wave's going to hit us, so to speak. But I feel it's more of it's been a gentle rising from. Well, I mean, I've been awake for probably six years now, and my awakening just happened all of a sudden, really. So I think this consciousness raising has been happening for a long time. But I think in September, I think think the reason why it may raise more, because I think we need to kickstart all the people that's totally asleep, the people that just live for watching TV, celebrities, all the people that are completely comatose, who just don't want to know what's happening in the world. I think maybe it might be a kickstart to get those people just starting to think. I don't think it's going to be a massive, suddenly they're going to wake up one morning and go, oh my God, I can see reptilians on the TV. You know what I mean? I don't think it's nothing along those lines, personally. I just think it'll kickstart them into starting the journey like we did years ago. And I do feel that for people, not so much like myself, because I don't consider myself to be a psychic. I've never done astral projections, any of that. I've just done years and years of research, and I have to say, very, very recently, the past 4 weeks maybe a little longer, I started to notice things in myself that have changed, experiences what I've never had before. For instance, seeing things what appear to be out of the realm of our existence, like a metallic spider I saw in my bathroom. My wife Jill saw a bird flew through the wall across the bedroom and out of the other side of the wall, and it was as if the bird was just in a reality outside of our own experience, but Jill saw it. And I know there's lots of people I know online who are having similar types of experience, and I think that's all to do with people like ourselves just raising up our vibrations and just seeing a bigger, like taking the blinkers off, the way I see it, and seeing the spectrum of light, because we're all in a holographic light universe, aren't we? It should be an organic one, but at the minute we're living in an inorganic one that's been placed upon us. But I think this awakening is helping us to see past that inorganic matrix hologram, to see the real existence that we created for ourselves to live in. And I think that's what this wave is going to do. And there was another point I was going to say to you as well, Michelle, when you were talking about time loops a few minutes ago. I've got that story to tell you what I was discussing on Messenger the other day with Paul Massey. Now, this is a really interesting one. Would you like to hear it?
I would. I want to make one comment about what you said, and that is, I think that, we've heard about lifting the veil, and I think that the veil is being lifted through waves of consciousness. It's that simple, and I don't feel like anything. It's anything other than that, but I don't want to limit it. Don't want to limit what you can do with your ability to use energy to propel yourself forward. I mean, that's one thing I just want to make sure that we don't put stipulations, we don't put expectations, because expectations just set you up for disappointment. However, if you believe, if you come up with a new belief, a new program in your brain that you are unlimited and that you can do anything you want with this energy, this pure source energy, then you can take it as far as you want. And that's where I think people tend to put everything in a box and say this is what it is, and it's really limitless. So yes, and that's really interesting about the spiders, Alan. I'm being in 5D and having access to, a lot of people contacting us. You're not the only one who's been seeing in the last 3 weeks or so things that are there, lifting of the veil, perhaps of the astral realm. Who knows what it's called? I think we're merging dimensions. I think we're becoming more of our multidimensional selves. And, that Harold talked about spider form. So intelligence, archons being in spider form. So I know that you probably put that two and two together as well.
Yeah, I did. For me, when I saw that spider, and I have to tell everyone, it wasn't like I was watching it for a long time. It was probably half a second, but it was long enough for me to see it, and I could actually hear it moving. I could hear it was just like a click, 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 like that as it was moving.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And for me, all I think it is, and I'm convinced this is what, for me personally, what I saw. I just think I saw some of the elite's tech, what's out of our range of frequency, the stuff that they use to spy on us. Maybe for all I know, this little thing might be around me all the time, listening to every word I say, as well as my phone and everything else. And for me, that's what I thought it was. And when I came to that conclusion after speaking to my wife, that because for her with the bird, I think that was something completely different, but for me, I think that was like some sort of advanced tech. But I just put out to the universe, basically, I do not consent for these things to be in my presence, to be listening to me, to doing whatever they may be doing. And I'm a great believer in putting your sovereignty down and your no consent, because at the end of the day, the universe has to do what you tell it, because you know, I mean, we are the creator beings, not these horrible AIs what maybe have made all this technology. We are the creator beings, not them. And so for me, if anybody out there listening to this, if you're going through any of this sort of stuff, it could be anything. Some people are seeing demons, aren't they? Or perceived demons, even though I believe that they're not. I just think the entities what are trying to scare people because they're waking up and they're starting to see these higher realms, and they're trying to scare people into shutting off and not I won't say exploring them, but just letting it happen and just getting, because I think these lower entities are in the lower fourth density for me, the 4D. And I think once you can start to see past that and up to other levels, that's when you can access all the stuff from there on a conscious level, not just on your spirit level, so to speak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and think about the importance of being able to see them, Alan. You did exactly what I would have done, and you said, I do not consent to that being in my presence or in my house, whatever it be. If we can all see what the hidden controllers are using, and we have the power to disseminate it or send it back, back to its source, to make it disappear, then we just clean the planet up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. I mean, once people realise this, that's all it takes. I mean, I listened to the show you did with is it Rich West? Is it the one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was amazing. That's one of the best shows I've heard you do ever. For me, I mean, because I've seen him on YouTube before, but the information you put out together was awesome, because it just let people know that it's all just little contracts what you make, and just don't consent to it, and and once you realise you've got that power to not have all this stuff put onto you, to say no, I just don't consent. People of the sheeples, that's why we need to wake as many people up as we can, because once we get the power of the people behind you, all knowing the truth, that we can just say no, we don't consent to that, and it'll just go away. They have no choice in the matter. And so that's what my aim is. To be fair, that's why I started Escape the Prison Matrix. That's what I'm trying to do, just in my own little way with the group I've got, these YouTube channels. I know yourself and what Greg does, all those things put together. If we could just awaken 1,000 people up, 10,000 people up, and then it's just exponential, isn't it? Because they just then start waking all their friends up, and and before you know it, all the people think we're not actually mad. They're actually telling the truth for once.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that you can actually wake anybody up, because I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what's happening is, just like I woke up with a certain frequency wave of consciousness hitting me, or coming from within me, or whatever you want to say, that's what's going to be happening, I believe, in September and October. So, September will come around, and we may have some chaotic things happening to oppose this, because we exist in a matrix of polarity and duality right now, and so if we're going to have a positive wave of energy coming to the planet, and they know it, they will have prepared for it, and will be doing everything they can to distract people, to not focus on taking in that energy. So I don't think we can wake anybody up, but I think that it will happen on its own, automatically, and I think it's so important to have information out there. We've been preparing now for a long time, and putting out articles, videos, and everything that we can do, so that they can find it when they do begin to question everything.
Yep.
That's awesome, and that's why Well, that's why we work so hard. We have not only N5D.com, but for those for holistic living and things like that, we have bodymindsoulspirit.com, and then I also have howtoexitthematrix.com, and that's how you and I have a little tie, together on this matrix thing,
Yeah.
because we do know that it's a artificial insertion into the organic template of physicality on planet Earth. So it was basically the organic template was hijacked and an overlay put on it to be able to dumb us down and take our memory and forget who we are. And so the matrix itself, it's like a software program that was inserted into the computer that would garble things up and kind of take geometry and turn everything upside down backwards, and it's all that part of it is all an illusion. And so when you began to decode the matrix, you began to learn how to recognize when something doesn't make sense at all. It's basically backwards from the truth. Yeah. So
totally. I think. Yeah. I think people. I'm just trying to think of somebody listening to this program now. Might be just starting to wake up to things, and the internet is full of a lot of negative. It's going to be this, it's that, it's bad this. Or it's for somebody starting to wake up. It can be really overwhelming. When they start to realise all the evil that is out there that we've had to put up with. But I would just like to say to these people that the reason all that stuff is out there is because they're scared stiff of you. That person listening to this show now, who might be just starting to wake up, they're as scared of you as they are of me and Michelle and everyone else, because they know we've got the power just to switch it off and just rise above it and just dissolve the matrix, basically, and all their power will go with it. And that's why there's so much war, atrocities and stuff out there, debt, money, the grindstone of getting up every day for work. It's all set up artificially just to keep you preoccupied and in a negative state. And what I would say to you people out there is just do what I did, and no doubt Michelle, just go out and educate yourself on anything that takes your fancy, whatever comes your way, because in my experience the universe looks after you, and when you start to look for information, it comes your way in so many different forms and so many different directions all at once, and you'll start to see a pattern and you're like, wow, there really is something outside of myself that's this information's coming from. And it's all, I think it's your higher self just giving you it when you're ready for it. And the more you educate yourself, there's so many dots out there. Me and Michelle could probably do 10 shows in a row on every single subject of all the things what they're trying to do to dumb you down, all the things we can do to counteract that. But for me, knowledge is power. Once you get that knowledge and you start to realise what you are as a conscious being, they ain't got a chance, and they know it. So that's rant over, Michelle.
Hell yeah, Alan. You tell it like it is. I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
Right.
So, yeah, you wanted to, though. I want to hear what you have to say about your experience.
Yeah, this is really, really strange, right? Now, what you got to remember is me and Paul Massey, who I started these shows with to start with, but because of his matters, financial, let's say, he's got to do a job. He can't be available for these recordings, but we speak for hours and hours every week on the phone, and he's one of my closest friends I've ever had. So when he tells me something, I know he's telling me it from his heart and it's true. Now, bear that in mind, I was laid in bed next to my wife last week. I was on Facebook, and I got a message from one of my friends on Facebook, and it said, "Have you heard about Paul Massey?" And it was like question mark. So I said, why? What's happened to him? I waited, and my heart started racing. I thought, it's going to be something really bad. And she's come back saying he's been murdered. And my heart sunk, and all the emotions, what you can imagine, someone you're really close to's been murdered. So I said to her, how do you know this? So she just put BBC. So I thought, well, he's been killed by the BBC? Or she's seen it on the television programme, right? So at this point, I got really upset instantly, and I started to cry. I'll be honest with you, because it really upset me that much. But I thought to myself, hang on a minute, surely if this has happened, I would have felt it, because we've got such a close bond. In the meantime, Jill, my wife, laid next to me in bed on her phone. She puts a search into Google, Paul Massey murdered. And straight away, this article come up about this gangster. Not Paul Massey, who I know, another guy called Paul Massey, right, from Manchester, which is a long way from where Paul lives, and he's been shot and killed, right? So I'm thinking, oh, thank goodness for that, it's not him. No, not thank goodness there's another person died, but you know what I mean, it's not my friend.
Yes.
So I thought, right, I'll ring him up straight away. I thought he'd probably still be up because he's a bit of a night owl. So I rang him up, got on the phone, and he starts babbling on like he always does. Love you, Paul, if you're listening to me, but you do babble, right? So I says, Paul, just shut up. I've got something to say to you. He says, what is it? I goes, somebody just told me on Facebook that you've died, you've been murdered. So Paul turns around to me, oh, God, it's that guy in Manchester, isn't it? He got shot. It happened about 10, 11 years ago. And he started to tell me all about this guy, all the details about him, how he got shot and everything. So I thought, oh, right. So I got really annoyed then with the lady in my own head who had said that to me. I thought, well, fancy not doing your research and having a look proper. It wasn't until the next day that Paul Massey, lived with his landlady, came into him and said, have you seen this in the papers? This guy called Paul Massey's been killed. But yeah, you know all about it from 10 years ago. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, I trust Paul, and I know full well, he said it to me very matter of factly. Oh yeah, it happened 10, 11 years ago, that, yeah, I know all about it. But yeah, it only happened that day. In our timeline, what we're in now, so something strange happened there with his timeline. I can't explain it, but it's just a story. It's just another one of the stories I've got. What seems to be happening nowadays. I mean,
That's incredible. Yeah, and you know, I've always felt like after December 21st of 2012 that for like 2013 we were in just like this void, just this lost place. You know, we were all individually finding ourselves. So I don't know if it's, you know, if we turned it into a blessing, being able to have more time to find ourselves and to move forward consciously, to prepare for, you know, helping people in the future. But I tell you what, I really feel like we had some kind of timeline incursions going on, because I know for a fact that they have technology to be able to do that. So, and they're always going to the past to try to change something to affect the now.
And I think, Michelle, if they've got the technology to do it, then I think we can do it ourselves maybe on an out of body when you're in a sleep type of scenario, because there's other things have been happening to me as well. Well, hang on, I'll let you carry on what you're talking about, but I had a very, very vivid out-of-body dream the last week, and it was really, really strange. That were all to do with timelines. Do you want me to tell you about that one?
Yes, speaking of dreams, I've been dreaming for the past 4 nights in a row that I've been working on my DNA and DNA templates for people on the planet, and I can't explain it in words, but I know when I woke up in my mind, it was like, oh yeah, you were working on DNA. You're working on DNA, you know, whether it be taking DNA away, whether it be, you know, repairing DNA, whatever it is. There was one template on the left-hand side, and comparing it with a template right next to it on the right-hand side, and the right one was the original, and they were merging, or they were being switched over to the original, and I've been doing that for the last 4 nights in my dreams, waking up knowing exactly that that's what I was doing.
So that's a very vivid, a definite out-of-body type of experience, not just a random dream. Yeah.
Yes, I do believe that I've been working out of body at night rather than going off into my little dreamland. You know, I've been actually working.
Did you say that Greg saw you come out of your body a while ago?
Oh yeah, that was a while back. That's when he's, you know, really started know a little bit more of his clear. And he was in a I don't know if it's the alpha state. He was almost about to fall asleep, but still awake, trying to work and finish things up. And he saw something out of the corner of his eye, and he kind of put his attention on it, and he saw my energy lift up out of my body right when I went to sleep. And there was a man standing at the end of my bed, kind of like what he felt like was a guide, But then there was also a man standing beside his bed, and
Yeah. Wow.
he felt that that was one of his guides as well. So we always have beings around us, whether they're good guys or bad guys. They're always
They're
there,
there.
and
Yeah, yeah.
being able to see them will be huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think for me, the dream where I had, it was a very vivid dream, and it's actually coincidentally it happened after the episode with Paul Massey, what I told you about, and in this vivid dream, it was me taking myself. It was like my higher self guiding me, showing me about timelines and how they all exist at the same time. Now, this was nothing to do with any inorganicness or any skullduggery from the elites. It was just how reality worked. I showed myself basically how making major decisions in your life takes you onto one timeline, but I was shown the other timeline, what I'd taken, and then the branches of those timelines at important sections. And then I went to a higher realm where I actually saw the Earth, and I saw different timelines of the Earth. I saw one where it was all machine. It was a bit like the Terminator sort of environment where the machines are just like, I mean, I don't know. That's what it looked like to me. Machines in control of everything. And then there was like a really paradise Earth and all these little ones off of it. And I was told that all these exist all at the same time, and they're happening in the now. There's no time, and it's just an endless experiences, and all our different parts of us are in different parts of those experiences. But then what my higher self told me was it's time for me to start taking those pieces of me back and sort of bringing them more into this body what I'm in now, because this is the template what I sort of should be in, and this is like the real what all those bits need to come back now. And I didn't really understand that exactly what it meant, but that's what I was shown and told. So yeah, that was very vivid and very interesting. Yeah, so
Alan, that is just like, it's just so important because, yes, the futures exist as possibilities, and I think that some of them will be collapsing because, I don't know, I know that we don't need to suffer. I don't know how else to put it, and I don't think that the parts of us in the future are very happy about being cyborgs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Transhumanists and having everything automated, and we have loss of our individuality and personality and become part of a like a beehive mentality, and I don't think that that's, I mean, I personally don't want to choose to experience that. I may have already experienced it, but I do know that Greg has said that he has had similar information come through to him, that he, has come back from the future, and has, is here to help awaken more people, not to awaken them, but to have information available for more people to raise their consciousness about artificial technology and, that kind of a future, because I don't think that that's where we would prefer to end up.
Exactly,
And not
yeah.
only that, but I think we can dissolve the negative possibilities in the future. And yes, you have to have some kind of excitement. Yes, we have to have lessons to grow from and all that, but we shouldn't be dominated and controlled.
No,
And I
definitely
think
not.
that's where we're moving away from. So how do we do that? Well, because we've had this, whether this is part of the artificial matrix or not, which I think it is, from the archonic beings, creating a whole new reality that's dark and upside down and backwards. Well, what we got to do now in the now is we have the power to, like you said, bring back those parts of our oversoul that had those experiences, because our oversoul can send out pieces and parts of itself as an incarnation into a certain timeline, and so we're bringing those parts whole again. But then what happened is we also got further, like one of those parts got further split up when we got caught in the incarnation trap, and having to come back over and over again. And every time we did that, another part of us got shattered off of us,
Yeah.
jumped out of our body and frozen in time, piece of us. And we have little frozen pieces of us, frozen in time, scattered all over the place because of trauma, because of just all kinds of different things, emotional things that have happened to us.
Yeah.
And we're healing and bringing those parts of our soul back together.
Yeah.
And it will
Makes sense,
affect our oversoul. It will help our oversoul to be, to be healed again. And then, once we bring more of our whole self into this body, I mean, it could not possibly handle the oversoul's essence, because that's just like way too big out in the cosmos. But to bring more of our whole soul, an aspect of that oversoul that's been splintered into thousands of fragments, to bring it back together again and be whole again, that's what's going to heal our DNA. That's what's going to heal the experience that we're having. So it's very important to intend as part of your routine, as you do your clearing, you do your healing, you do your intentions, prayer, whatever you want to call it, to bring in, to heal your body, to allow more space, to bring in more aspects of yourself into the now and be able to be whole and be powerful again. It's just like if we were to all unite on the planet together, we would instantly be able to overthrow any control factors.
Absolutely.
That are happening.
Yeah.
So we're uniting our and that's how I see it. So I think. Oh, are you there, Alan?
You've just been breaking up, Michelle, for the past sort of 20 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you just want to repeat the last 20 seconds, if you can remember.
Oh, I just think that's awesome that you had that
Experience.
what was it?
Yeah.
Experience. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I think for me, when I'm listening to what you were saying, and that makes a lot of sense to me, because I think what my higher self was trying to tell me was these experiences you had are necessary, and all these different realities what you existed in are necessary, but you need to bring them back now into yourself and be whole, like you just said, be whole again. And I get a feeling inside that, not from this dream, but just what I'm just thinking now, if we're bringing ourselves in whole again, all in one place, and this ties in with a lot of other stuff what I believe about this Earth is very important in the universe we live in, and I think it's very important, and I think if we don't heal this planet and get ourselves to where we need to be back to, I think it'll have repercussions throughout the universe, I personally think. So I think it is very important that we bring all those experiences back together, and also I think in the bigger picture, all those experiences, all the reasons why we come into these realities to have these experiences, because I know we've had a discussion before about it. I think it's one big massive game. Personally, myself, I see it from a huge perspective. I just think that this universe is one big massive playground that we created for ourselves to experience being in the 3D dimensions and all the other timelines, bringing all that information back to source and just adding to the consciousness of the source universe, whatever you want to call it, all in a bigger picture. And I do think, I know we laughed and joked about this last time, but I'll say it again because I do think it's quite funny. I think that one day we'll all be sat down having a virtual beer in a virtual reality somewhere with the Chief Draco, the Chief Archon, and whoever else, all just laughing and joking about the different parts that we played in that reality. And the Archons type people make me say, "Oh, we got really carried away with that, didn't we?" Laughing and joking. Oh dear, how far did we go? Oh dear. And I think it might sound really stupid, but I do actually think that I do. For me, it rings so true that it's one big massive game we play on a cosmic scale. It may be multiple universes. Everything, because at the end of the day, lasting forever is a long time, isn't it, Michelle? Got to amuse ourselves some way.
Yes, and I love your take on that. I do think it's a little hard for people to think
I
that big
when
they're looking around at what's happening in the reality right now.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like the really dastardly ones will be reconstituted back to source, meaning that I think that part of the experiment of this universe has just gone way too far, and that is out of balance. And we did when we say we created this, there are some of us here on the planet that are very powerful light creators. And actually, the part that got messed up was in my opinion, the ones that fell, the light creators that fell, the fallen angels, whatever you want to call them. They fell, and they fell in consciousness because whether they chose to play that part or not, who knows? I
Maybe
mean,
they did from the very higher
maybe they
source
did.
perspective. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they did. But they volunteered to be the bad guys. But they were so powerful, and they just forgot who they were, and who they forgot that they were source consciousness, and it became a when they didn't have any energy to survive off of, from separating themselves from source, from falling in consciousness and not remembering that they're connected, that they could be connected with just the with the free will to be connected. They needed to get other energy, to steal energy, and it just got way out of control. And I think that going back to source is not such a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them will lose their personality and be totally reconstituted into something else. Some of them will go to rehab and be able to see how they got so off track, and be able to remember their connection with source and reestablish that connection and totally change. So and so I think I think just to remember that on a higher level, the easiest way to understand what's happening from this brain that we have and our connected mind and everything is that it is a light creation, and it was created as a light creation, and then it got perverted.
Yep.
And it just, when things are created from light, they can be uncreated just as easily. They can be disseminated and changed. And our universe is a light creation. Our universe could be changed just as easily as it was created. But what we'd like to do is preserve this universe creation and balance what has happened to it, and be able to exist in this universe in a third dimensional body, but connected on a multi-dimensional level, which means not as dense of a body, but the ability to touch, to have the experience. It's like being on the Star Trek holodeck.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why we created it to be like that, didn't we? So we could have the experience and remember the experience, and then go back to other different realms, and then just pop back in again for another lifetime or a few years or whatever. Yeah, and obviously that's what this Matrix, this inorganic one, that's what it's done. It's taken us away from that, hasn't it? It's superimposed this one on top of us that makes us forget, with the reincarnation trap and the mind. All that is just taking away who we are as created beings of this light universe, and probably many more universes as well. So we just need to just carry on what we're doing. I'm really chilled out, I have to say, Michelle. I know a lot of people out there are probably really scared, but for me personally, I'm just really chilled. I've got no fear whatsoever. I've lost my fear a long time ago for anything what this Matrix throws at you, because I'm a great believer, and I know that I'm a sovereign being that's just I'm not saying better than anybody else. We're not, but we're not under the cosh of the elites. It's the other way around, if you ask me. And I've just lost fear. I mean, I have to say, my life, just the things, the everyday grind that gets you down normally, and I've used to all my life. I've just raised above it now. It's just, I can't really put into words how it's happened. It's just as if the raising of my vibration has just took me above the fear porn, what's all put out there, and I just know that everything's going to be fine. I know it 100%, and I just want to let everyone else know that, just do what we're saying, just get the knowledge, expand yourself, just be open-minded, and everything's going to be fine. I truly believe that.
Well, I think you know that, Alan, because it in the future it's already been fixed, and what we have to do is, this matrix has cut us off from, or did cut us off from that timeline, and we kept moving further and further away. And I think now that we've, because we've infiltrated the system from the inside and increased the amount of pure source light, we are magnetizing and pulling to us again that timeline, the jumping of timelines to get back to the healed part, which basically makes everything else dissolve behind you. I mean, your consciousness in the now is all that really matters, but in the future, it's already happened. So we're just pulling our consciousness towards that and pulling everybody with us that isn't quite awake yet. And I don't know how it's going to unfold. I think that's the unknown, is we are creating timelines that are connecting eventually with a healed planet. And there's several healed planets to choose from, but it has happened in the future, and bringing our consciousness towards that goal is like imagining and intending for, people not to suffer, and for there to be no lack of abundance, and for us to not be under domination and control, and, for us to have in the future other visitors from our star family, and to be able for us to travel as well. So there's all kinds of exciting things to think about in the future, and this is just a small part of the of what we had to do, when we came here to do this, is dealing with this chaos right now. But I'm right there with you. I'm not in any fear. I'm not in any fear of talking out, speaking. When you don't have any fear, it creates a bubble around you of protection, to where you can't be messed with. And because you are that powerful, and that's part of bringing in your higher self, bringing in more of your source energy into this body.
And just realizing that you are that powerful being,
and believing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Believing it. So can we talk a little bit about, for the people listening that may not have heard this before, in your opinion, because we are here in a body, and we are here to do this work, and we do have energetic implants or emotional experiences that have been stuck in our energy field. How do we clear ourselves to bring in more of our consciousness and more of our source energy? And how do we get into that? How did you get into that just relaxed state of no fear? I mean, you can't be out of fear unless you've cleared the negative energy out of your field.
I think one of the major things what I did was probably last year now. Yeah, it was just over a year ago, and I came across Cameron Day. And when I heard about him talking about the demiurge and how and he just called them the ankle biters, he had total disrespect for them, and I started to realise then that these entities, what controlling the reality, are nothing basically. And then he talks about, actually, a bit like what Rich West talks about, clearing the contracts, what you've made, sort of being conned into, let's say, before you was born again, and things like that. And when I actually sat down and I did meditations, and I used Cameron Day's on his website, ascensionhelp.com it is, if anybody's listening. And I found those really, really empowering. Sat down, meditating, just saying to all these entities, right, whatever deals I've made, I revoking on them. I do not consent to them, no matter what they are, as long as it's... the only things I will consent to is something that I want to enrich my experience. And when I did that, I started to notice then my fear levels just started to drop really, really quickly. And I stopped worrying about financial debts and how we're going to pay for this, and those sorts of everyday worries, job worries. And it just helped me to open up as well, and it sent me on a quest my quest for knowledge really went into overdrive the past year. And for me, the more I've learned, I can't stress to people, the more knowledge you've got, and the more true understanding from a big picture of all the aspects of what exists in this reality we're in, then you lose the fear because you know what it's all about. And that for me is one of the biggest ways I've just lost the fear, and because I know because of this, and I think probably with these, the ways, whatever we want to call it, what's helping us to reach higher levels, I think that helps to open you up to more possibilities, and then I started to build a filter up. And unintentionally, just happened naturally, where all this information had come in, I'd watched loads and loads of different subjects, and I filtered the ones that didn't make sense, and the ones that resonated with me, and I let them sit in my centre, my heart, and as all this other information come in, bit by bit, started to build a picture. But I didn't think about it, because I think if you use your mind, you cut yourself off from your heart. You need to use your entire being to just let it filter in. Don't think about it, just take it in, and just gently let it sort of sit in your body, in your consciousness, and then you start to build a picture of what it's all about, like I've got, and then that loses a fear because of that. So that's basically what I did. I don't know if it works for everyone, but that's how I did it. How about yourself?
Well, yes, I think Cameron Day's information was a huge part to propel me forward. When I said before that, basically we've been stuck in a couple of years of this stagnation. Well, some of us actually, we're still pushing forward through that. This is like walking through molasses sometimes. But what I've been focusing on, besides the very important part of the contract revocation and basically being sovereign and standing in your power, standing in your truth, is being myself and not worrying about what other people think of me anymore, not worrying about what my family is going to say when I came talking about the weather, talking about politics or anything like that, football, I just can't talk about those things anymore because I don't want to be in that vibration. I don't want to be in that reality. So speaking from the heart has brought me so much freedom. And the golden rule, treating other people as want to be treated, because I have to recognize my own programming and recognize my own thoughts, and know when some of the thoughts that are in my mind aren't mine, and taking responsibility for that and correcting it if I had let it slip and said something that I shouldn't have, reversing it, and trying to think a little bit before I speak and realize the implications of what I'm doing. So self-responsibility has been huge. And I try to also, I think I've almost mastered changing my reaction to those who would like to invoke a negative reaction within me. I think one of the last biggest things that happened to me was I got in a huge argument with my son, and I actually, could not leave at the moment. We were actually moving. And in the middle of moving, I think I might have snapped at him, and he came right back with a vengeance and then could not stop. He literally could not stop yelling at me, trying to invoke me into an argument and continuing that argument. And I realized what was happening, but the emotions were so strong because of the stress and the situation that I couldn't stop it. And that was the last time that I said I couldn't stop it, because I will not allow that to happen again. I know that there's interference from the archons, if you want to call them that, in provoking those around us to. They're stealing energy as fast as they can. They're harvesting.
Yeah.
And if you aren't aware and responsible for your own thoughts, so they will use someone around you to trigger for you to be in a very high emotional state, whether it be depression, whether it be anger, anything fear-based, that they can steal your energy. Because if you're responsible for your own thoughts, they can't get to you, but they can try to trigger you from people around you. So
I've experienced that.
That's helped me.
I've experienced that online more than anywhere. I think that anybody listening to this, they have opinions on certain aspects of the awakening or whatever, and then you will get these people. Some of them are actually trolls, some are actually just people what are triggered themselves by these negative entities to start having a go at you. and if anybody listening to this, what maybe putting stuff out on Facebook, for instance, and then you get some of your friends having a go at you, trying to cause arguments with you, just don't respond to it. Just don't enter their vibration, because once you start trying to argue back, and then that puts negativeness out to the person you're talking to, they send it back to you, and it just gets worse and worse. You just need to take a step back, deep breath, count to 10. It's an old saying, but it works. Deep breath, count to 10, and just think, look, they're reacting. It's not their fault. I'm not going to react to them, and just diffuse the situation, because I have seen so many groups what I'm involved with on Facebook what are not so much spiritual, they're more of a get out of debt free type of thing, beat the bailiffs one's called. It's helping people what's in debt. And I've seen so many people infiltrate onto this group, and they're just starting arguments, and all the people, because a lot of them aren't fully awake, they're only awake to the financial side of the elite and things of that nature, and they just spend all the days arguing with people, and they just can't see that they're just sinking down, and they're just feeding all the energy off them and stopping them waking up even more. So I think it's really important, like I said, with and especially when it's somebody like your son, where you're in the presence of them as well, it's even harder. But you do have to take that step back, don't you, and think, look, this argument don't mean nothing in reality. That your son might have been triggered, you might have been triggered, who knows, but you just have to take that step back, don't you, and realise, and once you realise what's happening, that they're trying to get the energy from you, then you don't get it no more then. And that helps to raise your vibration as well, doesn't it, Michelle, when you don't respond to it? Yeah.
It's all about energy and frequency and vibration of that energy. That's how we're here to remember how to change things from the inside. And that's the most important thing to understand, is everything is about energy and stealing our energy. But once we stop that from happening, we can actually reclaim all of the energy that we've lost. And you've got to remember how to do that. And then we've got to store up the energy to be able to move past this. Because if they take all your energy away, it takes your ability to move forward away. You have to have energy to move. Even if you're out in a spaceship in the cosmos, you have to have energy to move. Now, you can have technology that creates the energy for you, perpetual energy, but if you're a lower consciousness being and you have a physical spaceship with that requires physical energy, whether it be water or gold or whatever consciousness. I mean, some spaceships run off consciousness. You have to have that energy, and you get that energy is always there. We've just been cut off from it, and so there's a part of us that's always connected, and that's what they've been tying into. Is the emotional field is directly connected to it as well. And so they've been using emotions. And that's what's going on the planet right now. It's a final harvest of emotions. So, in the past, in past lifetimes, we just blew shit up. We had spaceships and we had wars and we blew shit up. We've got to stop the fighting and stop the warring. And it's not about rolling over and allowing them to steamroll over you. It's about approaching the situation from love consciousness and trying to change your tone of voice, trying to transmute the situation right there with love, with a higher understanding, and with the ability to just put a stop to it. Whatever it is, put a stop to it. And in your mind, you can even do what I did. You can say, I do not consent. I do not consent to this energy stealing. I do not consent to my son being infiltrated and used against me. And I will not allow this to happen. Because if you're arguing, you're allowing it to happen.
Yeah,
you're giving your consent.
Yep. And you're lowering your vibration and making it harder for you to actually see it from the bigger picture. Yeah. Hello, Michelle, are you still there?
Self down. If you can, yes, I'm here. It's so hard. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. It's so hard to calm yourself down and to be in control of yourself. It is. It's one of the hardest things you'll have to do. And you can definitely just control the situation in a different manner, in a different calmer voice, and or try to leave, and then come back to the situation. I don't know if you've ever had a little spat with your spouse or whatever, they'll spat with your spouse. kind of a spout with your spouse.
Why not? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to say it over again. I don't know if you've ever had a little spat with your spouse, but it always helps to separate yourself from the situation and calm down and then come back and approach it a different way. And I think if everybody on the planet just learns that simple task, we can change the energy of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me personally, a few years ago, me and my stepson used to have a few arguments because he was a teenager. I was not as like I am now, and we used to have loggerhead arguments, and then we'd go away, and we'd both just calm down, and we'd both end up seeing each other half an hour later, and, oh, sorry, love you, and then, and yeah. But now that doesn't happen, you see, because I don't rise up to that argument, and he's the same as well. He's 19 now, and he's come along a long way in the past couple of years with his own spiritualness, even though he doesn't go out there looking at it all on the internet like I do. He just listens to what I tell him, and he must be a star child, whatever you want to call it, because he's very receptive to it. He gets it straight away, and he's come a long way in that, and he's the same. So it's like we don't have an argument now. We have a difference of agreement. Then we just say, okay, then fair enough. Yeah, all right, then we'll just walk a separate way. That's it.
Isn't it interesting how you can see from your actions how you've transmuted a situation to where heightened emotions causing anger or whatever, and how drained you get afterwards. It's because they're directly connected into you, draining you. But if you don't allow it anymore, then, oh my goodness, can you imagine the look on those beings' faces in the astral realm that are not, they're like, oh shit, I can't use that person for an energy source again. Well, they leave and they go to the next, they go focus on the next person. Or, I don't mean to put, any fear out there, but they do go to the people around you. I have direct experience with it. I have thousands of people who have had the same type of situations occur. They can jump into a body on the freeway in a car in front of you. Not that they're going to wreck into you, but they'll put a slow driving person in the fast lane. If you're one who gets triggered by road rage, it'll happen until you face that within you that is causing that angst, anxiety, anger, or whatever on the road. They will continue to steal your energy through that, whatever means that you allow them to. See, that's all it is you're allowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You stop allowing, your whole situation will change. It's because it's a matrix. It's because it's a light creation. It's a mathematical, geometric light and sound creation, what we're experiencing, and it can be changed.
I think as well, if I like to touch on the stuff I've come across quite recently from Harold Kortzvella and a lady called Cara St. Louise. Now, they've been talking about, when we're sort of on the subject of people being triggered and sort of jumping from a body to another, so to speak, these guys are putting it from a perspective of it's all from the chemtrailing, all the nano called smart dust, what's in the chemtrails, and inside the chemtrail, these microscopic little bits of tech, basically, and they get into everybody's systems. Everyone's got them. They've been spraying for goodness knows how many years now. And for the people what are in a lower vibration or not working on a centered, well, he actually puts it a trinary system, as in like it's the heart, the soul, and something else, and it basically just being enlightened and awake. Basically, this system works on a binary system, which is like a wave pattern, like squares. And when you're in a trinary system and you're working from your heart, you're working from a frequency what doesn't. They cannot control that frequency because it's like below them, so to speak. So all these people you're talking about are getting triggered. I think that there's actual technology behind that triggering. What this AI uses, I think this AI is actually above the Archons personally. I think they worship the AI, and I think that's what's controlling and doing this to these people. And I think the more people that then do awake and start to work from the heart, they can't be controlled no more. Hence, me and you are living examples. We've just said that we don't get triggered no more. We take a deep breath, so to speak, look at it from a higher perspective, don't react, and that's because we're working from that higher vibration, and all this stuff that may be in your body it makes no difference. It doesn't hurt us. Same, I know I've heard you say before, Michelle, we've talked about how we sit a long hours and hours a day in front of Wi-Fi. And I just watched a video that one of my friends on Facebook posted yesterday about the frequencies in your house from all little appliances. It's horrendous how much poison and radiation's coming off these screens and your keyboards and your electrical appliances in your wall. But I think, once again, when you're working from this trinary system where you're just basically awake, working from your heart, I don't think it affects you. And I've heard you say it yourself that you and Greg don't get any ill effects from it, and I don't either. So, once again, it's just they can put all this tech together, they can do all they want. It might scare people, but once you've got the knowledge, what I've just said then, to rise above that, then it don't mean jack shit. They can't do nothing.
I mean, and look, all we can do, Alan, is just share our personal experiences. And yes, I would say that when you're first starting out, you should disconnect. That's why we say spending time in nature is so wonderful, because until you can work on yourself and clear yourself and raise your vibration to a certain frequency to where you're not as affected, then yes, I really think that you should stay away from or be cognizant of the Wi-Fi and even your cable box. Here in the United States, we have cable boxes, televisions that even when they're plugged in and not turned on, emit extremely low frequency waves. So when you're first starting out, it is important to not disregard those things. You can use crystals, you can use selenite, try frequencies with powerful too. Triggered, it's just that it's how you deal with it. And I can feel, I could be in a store and they'll make the computer go down when they're trying to ring me up or something, or they'll have a glitch where the computer will freeze. That happens to me quite frequently. Yeah. The computer will freeze, and it's been happening. It's so funny now. The way I deal with it is I laugh, and it seems to clear itself up just in time to be able to still check out and everything be fine. So, when I do get triggered and when I do react, it's important to forgive yourself, to not say, damn, look at you, you just reacted, in a way that you probably is not the highest outcome.
You should just laugh.
That's okay.
Laugh.
Yeah, I laugh it off and I say, oh, that was really silly of me. And I see it for what it is, and it just happens less and less.
Yep.
The more that you see it and acknowledge it for what it is and work through it and transmute it into something else, which is, it's like replacing it with laughter. It's great. And so I use humor a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And it's important to stop labeling. Now that we know what the New Age deception is, now that we know what archons are, now that we've identified the perpetrators, we know what we're up against, it's important to stop labeling other people in the spiritual and metaphysical field as being right or wrong, or being triggered, or having an implant, or having an archon. It's just, don't worry about anybody else. There's no need to identify other things that are happening to help warn other people. Worry about yourself. You're going to make the most impact on this planet by doing your own internal work, treating others as you'd like to be treated, not being passive, but also not being aggressive. It's all about balance, and balancing things out with your love vibration is huge. And that I wanted to talk a little bit about channeling, if I could.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah, go for it.
Once you understand that anybody who's channeling another being may not realize who they're channeling, whether it's a false light being posing as a good guy, or whether it's a bad guy outright, or whether it's a good guy. I mean, so, the best thing you can do when you're trying to discern what information's true is just feel into it. Man, if you like the message, run with it.
Yeah,
allow it to raise your vibration. I've talked a lot about channeling and about staying away from channeled material, and about, using your own discernment as to what's true. It's just so you don't get off on the wrong rabbit hole and waste too much of your energy trying to prove whether something's real or true or whether it's a good guy or bad guy. You maybe have to go down that path just to learn what you don't want to do. I did. And now that I've come back from that path of going down all the different rabbit holes and trying to compare what one person says to another and seeing all of the diametrically opposed opinions out there, you come back to yourself and you go, well, none of that stuff really mattered. And I still enjoy listening to people that are now, I believe, channeling more of their higher self and actually embodying that higher self. And they can say, that they're channeling, but they're actually merging more with their higher self. And I enjoy listening to things that ring true to me, whether it's called channeling or not. So that's my full circle on channeling.
I totally agree with what you said, wholeheartedly. I think years ago there was lots of channeling out there was complete, not true, and just leading people down the wrong path on purpose by beings what wasn't who they said there was. For me personally, myself, I just use myself. I have to admit, I've listened to lots of people, including yourself, Michelle. I listened to your shows last year, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that, and I gained a lot of knowledge from yourself and the people you had on board, and I always resonated with you, and I always knew I'd talk to you. And we started talking a long time ago, didn't we? Yeah, and that's another thing I feel. You know who you're going to connect with now. The more you become awake, the more your senses seem to be heightened. For instance, I was listening to that Harold Corks-Vella and that Cara St. Louise, and their stuff has resonated with me and so many of my friends as well on such a deep level. And I know you've listened to it, and he really knows his stuff, and so does Cara. Brilliant people to listen to, and I knew I was going to get them on my little show. And I just went out of my way to try and make some connections. I didn't get much joy with Harold, but I did with Cara, and then she's helped me along the way with Harold, mainly because he's just so busy doing conferences, he's just not online. So you know what I mean? It's just making things happen. You just know what's true. Your discernment gets so much better the more awake you become.
And it's your own journey in the end. Even though we're all connected, it's your own journey that's going to make the difference. So whatever you want to align with is perfectly fine. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You'll figure it out later. Today's truth may not be tomorrow's truth when you realign and shift timelines towards something different. And that's what you have to accept as being okay. And if everybody would just take that, there wouldn't be any fighting on Facebook about who's right, who's wrong, and who's an Archon and who's not, and who's a reptilian and who's a gray and who's an AI, who's a spider. I mean, it's take more of that energy and put it towards storing it up in yourself. So you have, let's say that we do pass in this body. If you have expelled all your energy trying to run down all those rabbit holes, you may not have enough energy to think yourself back out of this matrix. To say, okay, I just want to go home. Well, if you run out of gas in your car, you're not going to make it home. So it's about throwing out all of the things that don't serve you and don't raise your vibration, and not pointing fingers, and instead being with yourself, being centered and grounded, and coming from the heart, and sharing your truth with other people, and hoping that they don't do the same thing that we just talked about. Take your information and, okay, now I want to compare it to what, spinning my wheel out what's right. How about instead you take what works for you, you leave the rest, and you use that energy that we're projecting, that positive energy, take that and you use it, and you help to build your own idea of what you want this experience to be, and move forward with continuing to take and build your energy rather than expend it. And I think that we'll all get somewhere really quick. I really do. I'm very excited about the future. I do want to say that part of this WaveX that I'm going to imagine, because I can, is that my abilities will be further returned, as to before before our DNA got messed with, or, some even
Yeah,
say
yeah,
DNA is the problem. I don't care. I don't care what the problem is. I want it rectified.
yeah.
One thing I learned from Dr. Simon Atkins is, we've become really good friends. One thing I learned from him, he kind of schooled me up on one of our last interviews, is just think about the bigger picture and what you want to see, and don't worry about the details, because you're limiting yourself,
Exactly.
because you
Yeah.
are creators. You're creating the future timeline, the magnetism towards that future timeline. So rather than say, some of us tend to want to control how this is going to happen. How is wave X going to affect me? How is it going to affect other people? Just intend that you want to be able to see into the next dimension and see the controllers and be able to scare them off, or to just by, saying, I do not consent. They're, boom, they're out of your
Exactly.
field.
I mean,
They're out of
I do feel there's a point I wanted to raise with you about the reason why they are so scared of us and why they want to imitate us, because I've come across the information quite recently about the morphogenic field, and how I've known for a long time that we create our own reality, but actually doing it in a day-to-day basis seems to be still out of our realm of possibility. But I feel not no more, because I think now I understand that there's like the experience we're having now in this 3D. I'm sat in a chair talking to you, and I think there's a morphogenic field, what is like your imagination. It's what your mind thinks of, and then that creates that reality in like a sort of 4D, let's say, for want of a better word, in another dimension, and then that filters into this reality we're in. And it's sort of, so we are creators, because that's the process we use to create the reality we experience. And the more you think along the lines of what you've just been saying about, right, I want this experience, then you are creating. And the universe, that's how the universe works.